So just like Da Vinci had the Mona Lisa and Kubrick had 2001 A Space Odyssey, Jens Ansø has the TOKO, a knife that in his own words is one of the greatest designs he's ever made, which is crazy considering the guy has been designing some amazing knives for the last couple decades. And that got me thinking, what makes a knife so special? Is it any different? And does that actually make it better? Let's find out. So first, let's flash back to the 80s. At that time, Spyderco had introduced the pocket clip and the Spidey hole. Benchmade was innovating on what's now called the Axis lock, and Bob Terzuola was giving the liner lock its time in the spotlight in the world of tactical folders. And while all of that is happening, in Denmark, a teenage Jens Ansø picks up a popular mechanics magazine, looks into a knife-making article, and is suddenly inspired. He heads to his dad's workshop with a drill and a grinder and makes his very first knife. No CNC, no fancy steels, just pure curiosity. We fast forward to 2001 and Jens Ansø goes full-time with his knife making. And over the next 2 decades, he builds one of the most recognizable design languages to hit the knife world. He also collaborates with major brands like Spyderco, Boker, Kershaw, Zero Tolerance, and later he co-founds Giant Mouse with Jesper Voxnæs. And if you're paying attention to the knife world news, he's actually stepped away from Giant Mouse to focus full-time on Anso Denmark, which is his own shop. But after all that, what's next? That's where the TOKO comes in, and for Jens Ansø, this wasn't just another design. He went all in on the TOKO, purchasing another $75,000 Haas CNC machine, his 4th at the time. Not because he needed another machine, but because the TOKO was a knife that totally demanded a brand new process. He flew to the US to meet with Tim Reeve to learn the cup wheel grinding process. He came back to Denmark and expanded his shop completely just to make more room for all the new techniques that he's learned to make the TOKO. And then, once all the TOKOs were made, he hand sharpened every single one of these. And to me, that's absolutely crazy. If that's not passion, I don't know what is. So now let's talk about the knife and go over some of these specs. On paper, here's what you're getting. You're getting an overall length of 7.87 inches with a blade length of 3.35 inches. The blade steel of choice on the TOKO is RWL 34, and I believe this is Jens Ansø's debut on a hollow ground blade, which is just amazing. The weight comes in at 3.3 ounces or 94 grams, and on the inside of the scales, Jens has a mud track milling that he's done, which makes this knife ridiculously light. The finish on mine is amber anodized with a satin finish on the blade with matching amber accents. You can choose a couple of different varieties on the website, but to me, the amber ano looks fantastic. All right, so what are my thoughts on the TOKO? Let's go over the things that I absolutely love. For starters, this is really fine milling on both sides of the scale, which I think are just so damn nice. It is just such a nice little detail. When you run your finger on the scales, it feels nice. Ergonomically, it's super comfortable in the hands, and you actually don't even feel that little micro milling in your hands, which I think is cool. The other thing that I really love is all the internal milling that Anso has done on these scales. This new pattern that he's doing makes this knife really lightweight, and what I find even crazier is that inside all of those pockets, you see that same milling that's on the outside of the scales, which is just insane to think about. Like, there is just so much detail in here, and it is awesome. There's a little Easter egg somewhere in here. I'm not gonna show you guys because if you buy one, I kind of want you to discover that yourself. Another thing that I really enjoy about the TOKO is the way that this button is kind of recessed. Like, it matches the scale. I don't know if that's the right word for it, but it's ever so lightly just pushed up, which I think is really nice. It's not only very comfortable and easy to deploy, but aesthetically it's just so clean. And I think that's what Anso nails with a lot of his designs. They're all just perfectly like minimal and sleek. All the curves make sense. The flipper tab is the same thing, right? When you're looking at this knife this way, that flipper tab is just ever so slightly poking out. At first, I was having issues deploying it. I was kind of getting stuck like on the halfway, and I think it's because I was trying to push it. This is definitely more like a light switch deployment, and once you get that down, this thing is very, very fidgety. Another detail that I really enjoy is this like slight, I don't even know what we'd call it, like a little hump right here in the middle of the scales. And Anso did that because if you're looking at this knife this way and you're putting it in your hand like so, that just kind of helps with the groove the overall feel in the hand. Jens thinks of everything, and that's why I think these knives are so magical. You do have access for a little lanyard here if you wanted to do that. I love the way that he designs that. It's kind of inside the scale, so you don't have a hole out here or out here. I think it's just a really nice touch. I like the fact that it's hidden, so if you did want to put one on there, you can. I personally think aesthetically, the knife looks really great without one. To me, this kind of looks very luxurious for EDC. It's definitely got that utilitarian feel though, so you can beat on this if you wanted to and really go to town with it. But I think that having just this plain scale here with the button and then your pivot screw on there, very, very clean. The retention on the pocket clip is actually very strong, which I like that. I am not a destroyer of pocket clips, so I haven't had any issues with this being bent. It's very comfortable to get in and out of the pocket fairly easily, so pocket clip design is a yes. The blade steel of choice on the TOKO, like I mentioned before, is RWL34. I have no opinions on that because most of the customs that I've purchased over the years, the makers have always used RWL34. To me, it's a good steel. Again, I'm using my knife to open up boxes and cut tape, so I'm not putting this through any serious work. So I've been able to use my workshop guided field sharpener to get an edge back on this really easily after some use. I don't know. Like, to me, RWL34 is fine. The price point on this is $875, so I think that's fine. I've paid more money for other custom knives that use RWL34. I really have no opinion on this blade steel because it's never done me wrong. I would like to know in the comments what you guys think. What do you think is an appropriate steel? Do you think RWL34 makes sense? Would you want to see this in like an M390, a Magna Cut? Let me know that in the comments. I'd love to hear your opinions on it. What are my thoughts on the price point? $875 for this knife. I would pay that easily. And the reason I would pay for that is because Jens Ansø has made a collection of YouTube videos showcasing how he went from drawing to full production on the TOKO. And it was really cool to see that story. I think it's fantastic that he documented everything. If you haven't seen any of the content on his YouTube channel, we'll make sure to link it down below. But seeing that process gave me a deeper appreciation for him as a maker and for this knife. To me, the price point is worth that. After seeing the story of how it's made and just getting to know Jens Ansø now, it's just really cool. So $875 to me is worth it. If you don't think it's worth it, let me know. So why does a TOKO even matter? To me, in a world of button locks and collaborations and hyped up knives, this one guy was pouring his absolute soul into this project. Jens Ansø spent 6 months obsessing over every little detail on this knife. He learned new techniques, he bought new machines, he expanded his shop. He took so many risks to make this happen, and to be able to hold that finished product in my hand now and look at it and think, damn, that is a really good knife, is a beautiful story. I definitely recommend picking one up. Jens Ansø is, in my opinion, a legendary knife maker. One of the very first knives that I ever bought was a Clyde, and to me, the Clyde screams more Jens Ansø than Jesper Voxnæs. So if you want to pick one up, we'll leave a link down below. You guys can choose from a couple different finishes on the TOKO. I believe each finish is $875, and like I said before, highly worth it. So that is the story of the TOKO. If you guys enjoyed this video, please let me know down in the comments. Thank you so much, Jens Ansø, for not only sending this knife along, but also sharing the story. Make sure you guys check out the YouTube channel where he documents not only this story, but a couple other things. And that is it. I'll catch you guys in the next little knife review. And shout out to Ilya, by the way. Ilya is our new video editor. He cleans this whole mess up. You guys would not want to see this unfinished video, believe me. Thanks, Ilya.